Welcome to Native Notion, a gaming podcast that isn't afraid to talk anything and everything. Here's your host, Klamath.
Yo, what's good? What's really good? I appreciate you guys tuning in today. I am Klamath, for those who do not know. Today, we're going to be covering something that is near and dear to me, which is streaming. However, if you haven't noticed, I haven't been able to do it in a while. Let's just cut into it. Right now, I am definitely on a break due to the fact that the last year around this time, my wife and I decided that it was time to move out of our previous home and look for a new one. And if anybody's actually been in the market since the start of the pandemic, you will know, it is easy to sell rather than to buy. So with that being said, based on the fact that we had a home that we'd been in for 3 years and we were looking for a new one, we were essentially what they call contingent to find a new home. In order to do that, to place a bid, it is contingent on selling our old home. So we searched and searched and searched. I talked about this previously. We finally came to the conclusion that the only way we were going to be able to do it is to sell while we could, and then move into a temporary solution, which for us was my wife and my kids would be moving in with her parents. And because I'm a rotating shift worker, that wouldn't work out with me. There's already like 6 people in the home. Adding 3 more people, that would be 9 people total. If I went in there, that'd be 10 people total. There'd be no way I could sleep if I was on graveyard. So we had to figure something out. So we ended up selling our house, and then they moved in with her parents. And luckily for me, I knew somebody that had a room that would be for rent. So that's exactly what I did. It wasn't far away, 10 to 15 minutes from my family. Anyway, we were in that temporary situation until we were able to find the house that we live in now, which was, I think we moved out of our home at the, middle of July, the end of July timeframe. And then we bought our current house in October. So a couple of months of living like that. It was a tough situation, but it was necessary for what it is we were trying to achieve. And then since then, the house that we purchased, it does have an office, and that's where my setup is right now. One of the things that my wife put into me was that I don't recognize how loud it is that I am when I'm streaming. And to be honest, that is a complete and utter truth on her end of it. I've got headphones on, right? So I don't know how loud I am speaking in relation to the rest of the home. And generally speaking, I would be streaming when it was nighttime. So the kids were asleep, the wife was asleep. She's a very light sleeper, so mild noises and things of that nature, they tend to stir her. I'm not saying she fully wakes up or anything of that nature. She may. But she definitely doesn't get the full benefit of that. So she gave me that constructive criticism. So I was concerned about that when we got into this location. My office is located directly beneath my bedroom. It is in a position that may or may not be advantageous to what it is or where my bed is at. And so my wife may or may not be affected by that. But I had the idea like, hey, I will go ahead. I'll soundproof the walls and the door. And that'll allow me to continue with what it is that I do. I tell people constantly, like, I'm never a different person, right? I'm always the exact same person online as I am in person. If you got to know me in person, if you got to spend time with me, I'm never going to be a different person in that sense. Somebody did ask me, like, well, if that's the case, why can't you just continue streaming and everything like that? And I'm like, because I can't be the person that people enjoy while I'm streaming. Which is not necessarily me changing who I am, but it's definitely changing the way that I present myself. So I wouldn't be as rambunctious. I wouldn't be as forthcoming in terms of providing, good energy and things of that nature. And so it's not to say that I can't stream or anything of that nature, but it provides a different aspect, right? There are things that change in that sense. And so I was like, I don't want to be a different person. I don't want to act differently or things of that nature. So I chose to hey, well, I'll work on putting the soundproofing up. In order to attach the soundproofing to the walls and the ceiling, I have 3M adhesive tape, and the tape itself doesn't do well attaching to the soundproofing. Soundproofing's foam. It's not anything super special. It's basically adding a layer to your walling to minimize, to dampen the effects of the sound waves that are, reverberating throughout the room that you're in. For me, there's one wall that I have finished, and then the ceiling that I need to get done. So I'm cutting out this cardboard, and I think I cut up it's four pieces of cardboard for every piece of soundproofing, and I'm looking at hanging 150 pieces of soundproofing, so 600 pieces of cardboard, and they're an inch squared, so 1 inch by 1 inch. And I did about 100 of these in an afternoon, and I'm telling you, the pain that I felt in my hands after that afternoon, I was like, I don't want to do this. I'm not interested in doing this at all. None of this is worth my time nor my effort. And that was months ago that happened, and I have not worked on it since then. It's not to say that I haven't gamed or anything like that. Obviously, I'm doing a podcast, but the streaming aspect of it, the entertainer that comes along with it, there is, that is a portion of how it is that you have to do that. And so I said I would do this. I think I need to get it done by September. That's my mother is coming to visit, and she may be staying in here. She generally likes to have certain amenities that I don't have in this room, so we'll see. We'll figure that out from there. Anyway, back to the original aspect that is associated with it. I started streaming back in 2018, I believe it was. Yeah, 2018, I think it was. Playing Realm Royale. And no, I think I started playing Fortnite and then moved to Realm Royale. And then voila, here we are today. I've streamed twice in the last year. Both of them were Apex streams, and they were tournament related. And I didn't have, one time I did have a cam, and one time I didn't have a cam. They weren't very long. I definitely feel like I have lost my touch to be able to do that. So it's been a while. I would like to get back into it, honestly, and there's a lot of work that I have to do into it. Not to mention, I've been trying to focus on being there for my family, and prioritizing them and making sure that I am available, on top of I've continued to work an incredible amount of time. I've told there's a lot of people I know that I've been talking to. I've told them I worked 750 hours of overtime and then 900 hours of overtime in the last 2 years. And so far this year, I have worked 500 hours of overtime. And I don't, it looked like we've hired people to make this, not be so enduring for our work group. But there have been changes that have gone along with my work group and positions that have opened up, and it's created, more opportunities. And anyway, it's basically, we hire these people to fill in a position, and then we've opened these positions, and the positions are open immediately. but the people that are going to be filling those positions, they are 2 years out from being able to do that. So it's a process. We're starting to get people qualified to do the work. And just when you're like, we're starting to get some relief, we don't have to work nearly as much. And then they change something again and they're opening more positions. And there are people that can't work right now. I am on FMLA, so Family Medical Leave Act. It's just, that's a way for you to fill out paperwork that says like, hey, I'm going to take some time off. And it's going to be from, this time period to this time period. And that can be flexible. You have to communicate that. But in order to attend something to do, that's a medical process. My wife had surgery. So I've been taking care of her. And she's been a trooper, man. She's been working hard, doing decently enough in that sense. She is definitely pushing herself where she can. She's limited, but anyway, so that leaves me back to like, hey, we're back in the streaming world, right? Like, hey, I've had this time. My kids haven't been here. They've been with their grandparents, and they've gone camping a bunch. I went camping myself with them, the whole family and everything. So it's like I could have streamed, but there's needs that are here on the home side that, like I don't want to start dedicating 3, 4, 5 hours to doing this, and then every hour that I need to stand up and go help the wife for 5-10 minutes. That's I'm not saying that that's a bad thing or anything like that, but certainly there are things that are happening in my life that are not conducive to streaming. So I also, on the podcast side of it, I ran into a brick wall, right? Basically, there are things that interest me that I can talk about and I have opinions about and everything of that nature. But I was like, man, I really don't know what it is I want to have my next podcast about. It's been a couple of weeks. Well, not to mention like all of these life changes that are happening. So I reached out to my community in my Discord and shout out to one of my moderators. And I was like, hey, anybody got any ideas? And the answer that I got was a podcast that's on your experience with streaming or something related, talking about people that take commissions and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to focus on. My experience in streaming. First things first. The one thing that I've learned since I started streaming, that this is a lot harder than people give it credit. Anybody that has actually put in some real effort into streaming can completely understand and echo the sentiment, right? There's a ton of work that you have to do on the back end of streaming in order to make it successful. A lot more than what people will give you credit for. A lot of different things that you need to do. There's a lot of people that'll give you tips, and there's a lot of people that have advice, and some of it is good for you and some of it isn't good for you. Some things are better for some people than it is for other people, right? It is just different in that sense, but there's a lot more to streaming than people give it credit for, including the people that will watch you. There's a lot of, now this is a lot different because people have given it a shot over the last 2-3 years. But in starting out streaming, there were people that are constantly like, well, why aren't you doing this? Or how come you're not doing that? And blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, maybe you don't understand, but that's a lot harder than it sounds, right? Credit to one of the guys that I know. He figured out a program that he could use to be able to start editing his own videos. And he has taken time and effort into building that so he can make his own videos. And now he is, growing his YouTube aspect that's associated with it, right? And he's put in all of this work, right? That's not something that you get paid to do, right? He is doing that for himself, so he doesn't have to pay somebody else to do it. But nevertheless, right, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort to be able to even get close to being able to do that. Not to mention when you're starting to do good enough that you're consistently doing that and everything, man, you have to have a serious support system behind you. In my experience, right, my support system came from my community. And there's a lot of times that I was like, man, I just want to stream today because I want to talk with the people that I have been talking to for the last week or the last month, or whatever it may be, the last couple of days. Maybe I'll meet somebody new who I've never met before that is just another great addition to my life, to my streaming aspect, right? So that was my drive, right? And I was like, man, I just want to keep doing it. I wasn't necessarily trying to become famous. Don't get me wrong. That could be a dream for a lot of people. I personally don't care at all about being the biggest streamer or averaging the most viewers or having the most subs or anything like that. I am just like, hey, I'm doing this because I'm enjoying doing this, right? In fact, I have made it a personal goal of mine to not focus on anything like that. Just like, hey, I'd like to, if I'm going to do this, I'd like to grow my community. So there's some people that I am intimate with enough on a level that I can talk to them personally about a lot of this stuff. People that stream, and there are aspects where it's like, people tell me like, well, your follower numbers don't matter, and I'm like, yeah, you're right. My follower numbers don't matter, but I would rather grow my following than grow my sub count. Mostly because I don't care about money. Before you get too far on that, I don't care about making money while streaming. I have spent so much money, like an incredible amount of money, building my setup. I have not made anywhere near enough to be able to pay that back from streaming. There's just way too much that goes into this that could ever be something that you'd be like, oh well, you're making enough to compensate for the fact that you had to purchase this, or the monthly income that you got from this, blah blah blah. I've done that just one time in the 4 or 5 years that I've been streaming, where I've made enough in 1 month to afford the thing that I needed to purchase for streaming. And it was a ridiculous month. So, in any case, yeah, I mean, there's things that are completely behind all aspects, where a new keyboard, a new mouse. If you want to have a stream deck, you don't have to have one, obviously. It just makes your life a little bit easier. If depending on the type of microphone that you have, your mixer that you have along with it. Just yesterday, 2 days ago, it was in the morning time and I was playing a game, and boom, my Go XLR just started failing, just constantly restarting, right? And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I went through all the troubleshooting processes that I could find. I was in the TC Hellion Discord talking with one of their community managers about it. In any case, none of the aspects that I tried worked. It just this piece of equipment completely failed. So I was like, well, I wonder if there's anything that some way that I could replace it. I needed my Go XLR for both my microphone and my headphones. I don't have speakers. I have one monitor that has speakers on it so I can listen, but I wouldn't be able to communicate with it, right? So that created different aspects. I couldn't play games with other people because I couldn't communicate with them and everything. So I went on Amazon. I purchased a new Go XLR, and luckily they had it delivered to me by the end of the day. That's about as fast as the turnaround as I've ever had from Amazon, especially since they have changed. They're struggling. They don't have the people necessary to do all the deliveries for the people that are purchasing items for them. And not to mention, there's a lot of like third-party groups, like you purchase something off of Amazon, but it's sold from a company that ships, via like some shipping source, but through Amazon kind of situation. Anyway, the Go XLR was in a warehouse that was near me, so they got it to me that day. That made life a lot easier. Got it up and running. I had some troubles getting it up and running. It wouldn't accept the drivers. Anyway, so that's a purchase that I had to make. But I haven't streamed in over a year, like it's not like I'm getting income from streaming. to be able to purchase that. I've just bought a new mouse. No income from streaming. I bought another hard drive. In this case, it's an SSD, and now no income from streaming. Right? There's a lot of people that think like, oh, because you're a streamer and you have this nice setup, clearly your community is paying you to do this, and or you've been fortunate enough to run into people that are going to be able to give you what is necessary for you to achieve that. And I'm like, yeah, that is not the case. Not to say that my community isn't generous or anything of that nature. The times that I have been lucky enough, they have been more than generous and more than I could ever ask of any of these people. And I've been fortunate in that sense, but that I will never rely on what it is that they could potentially be giving to me, or what it is that they feel like they want to give to me, to be able to buy the next thing for streaming. Some people need that, and that's completely understandable. I'm fortunate enough that my job is good enough that I can pay all of my bills and I can purchase this extra stuff for my setup. At some point, it would be nice if I could make up all of the money that I've sank into my setup from streaming for streaming kind of situation. But I don't see that as being the case. It is you investing into your product to make your product better, right? And a lot of times that's a situation when you talk to like financial people, right? You got to spend money to make money kind of situation, right? Not everybody, right, can be the best player in the games that they're playing, or be the most entertaining person, or whatever it may be. Some people have it and some people don't. That's the reality of the situation. So I tend to believe that I don't have any of those things that makes me stand out. So I don't rely on the generosity of other people to be able to achieve the things that I want to achieve, right? I do what it is that I want to do, and I do it when I want to do it. I've been smart enough to build up my savings to be able to make this happen. So, the other side of all of that, right? I talked about all the hardware and everything like that. You have your computer and all the components that go along with your computer. You have your monitors. I have a 3-monitor setup, which is funny because I haven't streamed in a year. But I still use all 3. Like regularly, I use all 3. You have other things that are associated with that, right? There's software that goes along with it. I use XSplit, which is it is a piece of software that you can use to be able to stream and capture all of your videos, your gaming, and everything of that nature, and then send that out to whatever your platform may be. So that's what I use. They do have a free version of XSplit. However, I use XSplit Broadcaster, which is basically what OBS is, except there are some differences that are behind it. That takes a license. Well, you can use it with a watermark on all of your videos if you do use it. If you don't have a license, I chose 3 years ago to purchase a lifetime license with them, which they had a sale for Black Friday, and I think it was like $150 at the time. Made that purchase, and boom, now I get the software at its full functionality for the rest of my life. XSplit has dedicated developers on their side, so if you're having issues with your software, with your stream, you can contact them, and it's 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 or 66 days a year. Somebody is there to talk to you, and they're incredibly responsive. I think the longest wait that I've had when I've contacted them for something was 2 minutes. Not a joke. Incredible. Worth every single penny that I spent towards it. And I would contact them constantly. That's better than having to deal with like going onto Reddit and trying to troubleshoot something that's associated with OBS, or some update that came out and you don't know when that's going to be. They're communicative with all of their upcoming projects, and so you're aware of that. Anyway, so that's one aspect. There's other things that you have to do, like overlays, right? Your profile picture, your emotes if you have them. whatever it may, I mean, like all of these different things, right? And not everybody's talented enough to do that. My wife is actually like incredibly talented on digital art. However, I have not mixed business and personal life, you know? So I've never asked her to do stuff for me like that. So it's not that she isn't willing, and to be honest, she might be. I've never asked, so I don't know for sure. Anyway, I've always gone out and I've gotten people that are professionals in one way or another at doing this to be able to do that, right? And that costs money. The intro to this podcast was I found somebody on Fiverr. I had to give them an idea and some script type of stuff, and they created it on their own. They sent it to me, and we worked back and forth to finalize what it is that I wanted out of the product that they were producing. And in the end, that cost me money. Same thing with all of like the digital art that I have on my stream, right? All of the overlays, those are all created by different people, people from different walks of life. Excuse me, I'm drinking a nice pale ale from Deschutes Brewery. Deschutes Brewery is located in Bend, Oregon. It's delicious. It is fantastic, incredibly smooth. It is 5%, so it's not very it's not a high alcohol content. It's got 40 IBU, so not much hops. It's delicious. Anyway, so all of this stuff that goes into streaming, you got to pay for that. I have experienced a wide variety of artists for all of that. I will say it is likely to be the best you can find, unless you happen to know some people that know people that can get you connected kind of situation. You should probably use a service like Fiverr. If you've never heard of Fiverr, it's Fiverr. It is a place that for everything, for literally everything, just artists for anything you can think of. That's where you can find them, and you can build a contract through the website and stuff like that. Anyway, that's been my most reliable. That's not to say that that's been my best work that I've been able to get from it. It has just been the most streamlined, and it has been, my communication has been good. My ability to contact the seller, or excuse me, not the seller, the person that's doing the work, right? My ability to be able to intermediate with the company that's there in case something goes wrong. All of that is there. That has been fantastic to use, as opposed to my time of dealing with people that are online, right? Twitter, Instagram, Google, wherever it is you may find these people. I have had a complete and utter array of people to be able to do whatever it is that I'm doing. Even the person that made the profile picture for the podcast, that's somebody that I've known through the streaming world. They are professionally, they are an artist, and I know somebody that vouches for them completely. And so I use them for that. But I ran into issues with that person, like I've run in with a lot of the people that I've worked with, like issues. And the biggest thing around that has been communication. It's not to say that I'm holding these people to a deadline, but generally speaking, these people are going to volunteer what it is that they consider to be a deadline, and they're going to let me know. And by their own volition, they've told me when this project will be done. And 0% of the time, and I'm being completely honest about this, 0% of the time has a project ever been done at the timing that the artist has given me, for whatever the reason may be. Sometimes it is like, it doesn't make sense. Other times you're like, well, that's a solid reason. I just wish you would have communicated with me to let me know, kind of situation. One time I started with this person. I worked with them for like 6 weeks, and they didn't finish the project. And I'm like, that's it. I am sorry that you've worked on this, but your lack of whatever communication in this sense means I can't do this anymore. That applies to like many aspects in life, right? There are many things in life where the communication is incredible, right? I can't express it enough. Just the idea is you can have something, you are a professional, you offer a service, that service is what people want. Somebody contacts you about doing it, you talk details, you enter into a project together, right? That project may not be the biggest project that you have. It may not be the most money you've made. It may not be the thing that you really want to be working on at that moment, right? But as the professional in that sense, if you agree to it, you got to hold yourself accountable for that. And that's the biggest thing that I find working with artists online. Not that people are at all crazy, bad, or anything like that. In fact, I've had really, 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 really good work done by people. Just, I don't understand why it's taking this long. And then it comes out like, oh, well, other parts of life got in the way from doing that, right? And when you have that happen, you start to lose trust in these people. And that's what happened with me. I really, really, really can't trust somebody that is on a platform, a social platform of any kind, because life gets in the way, right? When life gets in the way, your priorities as the customer become secondary to their priorities as the professional, right? So that's why I am an advocate of like, hey, just go to Fiverr. I'm not downplaying any of these people or anything like that. I think that you could experience something that is completely opposite of me, something that will never cause you to think something like that. And that when that happens, great, I'm glad for you. Now, other aspects of streaming, you're going to have ups and downs. You're going to have highs and lows, right? Ups and downs there. You're going to experience elation in one aspect, and you're going to experience anger in another, all related to streaming. And it could be from anywhere, absolutely anywhere. That could be from, in one stream, you gain 100 followers, right? And you average 25 viewers during that time period, in that stream or whatever. And then the next day, you have 0 people watching you. And no follows come in. And you streamed for double the time. Same time period. Like start time period. Excuse me. Same game or same topic, just the next day, and you didn't get to experience anything like the day before. That is streaming in a nutshell, right? Sometimes it is incredible. Sometimes it is downright disheartening. One of the last streams before I had to pack up all my stuff, living in at my previous home, I think I had 3 in the last week. One of them, the first one, I think I streamed for 4 hours or something like that. Not very long. And I for like 2 of those hours, not a single person talked, right? I just streamed the game that I was playing. Fortunately, I've done that enough that it doesn't bother me as much. But it's still like, oh man, that sucks. I hate that happens. Then the next time that I streamed, a couple days later or the next day, whatever it was, it popped off, right? And there were people there and people that, like that I hadn't talked to in a while, and people that are there basically every time. And it was awesome, you know. And then the next time it was like an incredibly short one, so it kind of doesn't count in that sense. But it wasn't the same, right? And it's always going to be different. You're always going to experience the highs, and you're always going to experience the lows, and you're going to set these goals for yourself to be able to achieve whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. Man, I remember pushing so damn hard to get affiliate, and I got affiliate and I felt amazing, right? That's my goal for affiliate was the reaching affiliate on Twitch, right? It's not like it's incredibly hard. Stream for 8 hours, have 50 followers, average 3 viewers. The hardest one is the concurrent viewers, right? Yeah, but I remember being like so damn excited. Fast forward 3.5 years later, and I have grown since then. I have become better at what it is streaming, right? That whole concept of streaming. But I don't have a goal anymore. The next thing that you could hit on Twitch, right, would be partner. And I don't think I'll ever be a partner, and I don't have really any expectations of becoming a partner. I've never even I think at my peak I was averaging like between 15 and 20 viewers, so nowhere near partner numbers or anything like that. It is what it is in that sense. So my push for streaming now is internalized, right? My desire to do streaming. And maybe that's a part of the reason why it is that, I'm here where I am now, having not streamed for the last year or so. But ultimately, right, you got to find what it is your motivation. A lot of what it is you do in streaming is you figuring out how to motivate yourself, right? How do I do what it is that I'm doing, but do it better? So that's something that you'll have to work with. That's been my experience in streaming. I have become close friends with quite a few streamers. I am friends with people that I knew from long before I knew streaming was a thing, right? That are on this. I've been fortunate enough that there are some people that I know outside of gaming that now I'm connected via streaming. And that is all what it is. Sometimes you can grow. I've not been open to my family about the fact that I do this outside of my direct family, right? I haven't told my parents or any of my friends about it, minus one. So it is what it is in that sense. I don't feel like they need to know. Sure, if I was doing it consistently, I could probably get my mom to be on the platform, but to be honest, my mom is, she's savvy enough to figure it out, but she's not the most tech savvy, and she has her own likes and dislikes and everything like that. She's her own person, obviously. But I don't know if that's the kind of interaction that she's looking for, nor is it the interaction that I'm really looking for with my mom either. So, yeah, streaming, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot more than what people give it credit for. There's a lot of work that you're going to have to do. It is going to be a struggle for 95% of the time. Really, what you set into streaming is what you get out of it, right? Yeah, there's going to be a lot of work that you have to do in order to make that happen. You're going to deal with technical problems all over the place. Sounds constantly the biggest problem that every streamer deals with. Yeah, it's a ride. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot that goes on in that. There's going to be stuff that you probably strongly dislike or hate or however you want to put it. Anyway, that is going to happen, right? And that is a part of human interaction. There's other parts of it that you gotta make sure that it doesn't get to you, right? Like, for instance, on Twitter, people like to subtweet, right? That is a constant thing. Something I'm the type of person that tends to read a lot more than I talk about. And because of that, I see a lot, right? I take in a lot from what people are saying and stuff like that. And I see a lot of people that are constantly trash talking other people, but they don't talk to that person. And that to me is like an odd, I don't get it. Maybe because I'm not afraid of confrontation. I'm not saying these people are afraid of confrontation, right? But everybody handles confrontation differently. Or maybe they're not trying to cause any more problems, or maybe they are trying to interject something about themselves to the people that are following them about, try to talk about something. I don't know. It's weird. I try not to get into the drama stuff. If you're one of those people, I pray to you that if you have a problem with somebody, take it to them, talk to them, be an adult about it. This whole like talking to people about people, that you can do better. We could all do better, right? Just keep that in mind. Anyway, for me, I'm having fun. I'm doing good things. All of this is happening, right? All of this good stuff that is coming in and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. There's not necessarily a presence that I'm going to make on streaming. At some point, I'm going to make a comeback to that. I happened to look into my following recently, and I noticed that I've lost a lot of followers because I haven't been streaming. It is what it is. I don't blame people that don't want to follow me because I haven't been there, right? That's a part of the streaming life. Like, hey, you followed me because you liked something about my personality or my gameplay or the game that I was playing or whatever it may be. Anyway, they are all there. And for that matter, like I just try not to focus on it too much. I would love to grow more. Part of why I'm doing podcasting is obviously there are things that we want to talk about, but it gives me an opportunity to express my opinions, and it also helps me reach people that I may not reach otherwise, right? There's a lot of people out there who don't care about gaming. Not to mention that podcasting, people can listen whenever it is that they want to listen. One of my moderators and my biggest supporters that I have didn't even know that I dropped my last episode, right? Until like a few days ago when I told him, and he's like, when did that happen? And I'm like, weeks ago. Like I'm not trying to shame that person or anything like that, but you can listen to it at your own time frame. You may not even want to listen to what it is that I'm talking about. Whatever. It is what it is in that sense. I'm not upset. There are going to be people that are going to provide feedback. And in fact, I welcome feedback. If there's something that you want to say about what it is that I'm talking about, or something that I'm putting out there, or a topic that you want me to talk about, feel free to reach out to me. I have different platforms. Twitter. You can DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open. You can message me on Instagram. I do have an Instagram. I'm not very active on Instagram, mostly because I don't take pictures, so I don't have anything to say on Instagram. It's kind of a weird situation. You can find me on Discord. You can email me, Klamath@yahoo.com. Promise that I'm sure people have emailed me in the past and stuff like that, and I may or may not have caught it. So anything about the podcast, if you have constructive criticism, if you have you have anything that you want to say to me, if there's stuff that you want me to talk about, if there's anything along those, like anything in that sense, feel free to reach out to me. I'll take it. I don't get upset when people criticize me. I may counter what it is that you have to say about me in my own perspective, but it doesn't mean I'm upset. So feel free, reach out to me. Let me know what you think. Let me know if like, hey, like I like the direction that you're going, or why did you do this, or this was a good topic, or you did a great job, or your sound quality was incredible, or it all sucked and here's why, right? Be specific in that sense. I can take that for what it's worth and try to improve upon that. Thank you again to my community member that provided this, right? The topic at least. And I would like to do more. So brainstorming is a big thing. There are certain topics. There's things that are happening right now that are big in the gaming world, right? Well, big. I mean, in relation to where it is that I came from and what it is that I'm doing and stuff like that. I may or may not talk about that. So it is what it is in that sense. But if there's anything that you want to hear me talk about, feel free to reach out. I promise that I'm going to take your suggestions and work with it to the best of my ability. So with that said, you can find our podcast basically any listening platform. The hardest one to find it on is the one that I can't seem to get them to approve it on, which is Pandora. Pandora, their service, they said it's been down for a while, and so they're behind and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, I can't get them to approve my podcasts, so, but I'm working on it, right? I keep submitting towards it, and I contact their support team. Yeah, making it happen. So with that being said, I will include in the show notes where it is that you can find me, all of my socials. I do have a link tree. I will include that. That's the biggest one. The Podbean podcast page has a link to all of the other platforms that I am linked to. So you can, if you go to that, it is klamath.podbean.com. You can click on the link for the platform that you want to listen on, which is every platform that you can think of, with the exception of Pandora. And you can find it there and listen there. Please feel free, if you want to, rate the podcast. If it's good, if it's bad, I don't really care. I'm just looking for feedback to be able to improve myself in that sense. All right. It has been incredible. I thank all of you for hanging out with me. I appreciate the fact that you're here with me. Now, there may be some changes that are coming to the podcast, and I'm working on that behind the scenes. We'll see if that happens. But, as always, thank you very much. And until the next time, I will see you then. Take it easy. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Native Notion. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. In the meantime, keep up with Klamath by following him on Twitch, Hover, and Twitter. All links are in the show notes. Until next time.